Android Studio has tools that let you monitor resource usage while the application is running on a device. These are all packaged into something called the Android Profiler. To demo this, I've created a simple application that I've called Memory Eater. It builds up a whole bunch of objects in memory so you can then monitor the application and actually get complete memory dumps. To use this, I'll clone the application from GitHub. I'll click on that copy button. Then I'll close the browser and return to the Android Studio welcome screen. And I'll click Get from Version Control, and I'll paste in that URL and clone the project. In this application, I have a mutable list where I can add as many objects as I want. There are two buttons named Eat button and Release button. When I click on the Eat button, it starts a process where it just keeps on adding items to that list. And when I click on the Release Memory button, it clears the items out of the list and updates the display. I'll show you what the application looks like at runtime, and then we'll see what happens when we use the Android Profiler to see what's going on internally. When I click Eat Memory, it starts adding items to the list, and it just shows the number of items. Every once in a while, you can click on Release Memory, and that stops the adding operation and clears the list. Okay, so let's get rid of this application completely. I'm going to click on the Last Tasks icon and drag that up to the top so I know that app isn't in memory at all. Then I'll run it again from scratch from within Android Studio. Next, I'll go to the Profiler. I see the Profiler tab down at the bottom of my screen, but if you don't see it, you can go to the View menu and choose Tool Windows and then Profiler. Next, if your application doesn't show up automatically, you can click on the plus icon, choose your device, and then choose the application process. The Profiler has 4 categories for CPU, memory, network, and energy, which is battery. To see a more detailed view, I'll double-click on this bar, and that expands the Profiler to fill the screen. Right now, the application isn't doing anything, so everything is pretty steady. The CPU isn't in use very much at all. Memory usage is static, and nothing's happening on the network. I'm seeing little blips on the battery usage, but nothing to speak of. Now I'll go to the application and I'll start eating memory. And you'll start seeing activity in 3 of the 4 monitors right away. The CPU is showing that there's pretty constant activity, but it's not a flat line. It's going up and down constantly. The memory usage looks like it isn't increasing that much. I can clearly see, though, that being this constantly active is chewing up battery usage like crazy. You can double-click into any of these to see more detail. This is the memory usage, and you can see now that the memory is climbing steadily. Now I'll go back to the application, and I'll release memory. And you'll immediately see that the memory usage flattens out. Objects aren't immediately given back, and that's because the garbage collector hasn't kicked in. But if it did automatically, you would see a drop. Now I'll start eating memory again, and you'll start seeing that activity going on. And now, let's say that I wanted to take one of the peaks and get a report of what it looked like. I'll click on the pause button up here. Then I'll go to this peak and I'll right-click, and I'll select Dump Java Heap. After a moment, I'll see this fetching results message, and then I'll see a table of results. It shows me that there are over 400,000 objects in memory, and it also shows me the data types of all the different objects. Unsurprisingly, there's a lot of strings in memory, and that's because that's what I was adding to my list. Every time through the loop, I'm creating a new string object and adding it to the list. To exit this part of the Profiler, click on the left pointing arrow at the top, and now you'll be back to the regular display. I'll go into the Energy monitor, I'll click on this Continue button, and now I see an up-to-date display of what's been happening internally. You can click onto any of these items and see where the battery usage might be coming from, including perhaps location usage, wake locks, alarms and jobs, and so on. The Android Profiler tool is an incredibly useful tool. for finding out what's going on inside your app at runtime and how it's using various resources.